Hi everyone, I'm Anisha. Welcome to my channel on astrology and tarot. For those of you who are seeking deeper clarity, be it in your love life or your career, for a personal consultation, you may write to me at tarotbyanisha@gmail.com. Scorpios, welcome to your annual 2022-23 Astrology Horoscope. We have another intense year ahead. Your co-ruler Pluto is doing what we call as a Pluto return this year. For those of you who follow astrology, you must have been reading many articles of how the Pluto return is going to be affecting us. So Pluto return in the simplest form is returning back after 248 years. That's the time that it takes to finish its revolution around a specific zodiac. It's coming home to its stage of inception. That is there where it was in the United States. So, the way that we have our individual astrological charts, nations also have astrological charts. And as we speak, we are pretty much in the midst of a Pluto return that is there, and Pluto is returning to the place in the cosmos that it occupied at the nation's inception at about 27 degrees to Capricorn. And in the chart of United States, which is cast for the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, the planet Pluto sits in what we call as the second house. That is a part of a chart which we associate with ownership of our money, possessions, innate gifts, self-worth, and just about anything that we value. It also sits in the sign of Capricorn, that's the second house, and this doubles down the theme of worthiness, the theme of self worth along with this. Capricorn is a sign of a sea goat, the mythological creature that can cross any mountain, it can go across any sea, and in its quest to succeed, it can pretty much overcome any obstacle that comes in its way. And often, when we have planets in the second house, in the house of Capricorn, and along with it, if we have a planet which happens to be like Pluto, we are dealing with a shadow of self who believes that it must work in order to prove its worth, believing that it is not enough already. You can find instances during the Pluto transit, depending as to which part of your chart it is occupying for you, that you are in a circumstance after circumstance, which makes you sort of keep wanting to work more hard towards getting to your goal. Just also maybe at times increasing a lack of self-worthiness in order to be paying a price. And unfortunately, this vicious cycle keeps driving you towards achieving something which you already own, till the time a higher consciousness, of course, is raised and you are willing to transform yourself. Let's talk about Pluto, and I think this is a little important to understand this contextually as to why there is so much of trepidation as far as Pluto is concerned, and why is it that we need to be looking at the effects of Pluto more closely. Now, out of all the mythological stories that are connected with Pluto, they are linked to the Greek god Hades. He was a lord of underworld, and he lit the underworld with quite a tight and unyielding power. Now, Hades ruled the realm of those that were passing from this world to the next, and his name and the myth are associated with power, with transformation, resurrection, the shadows, the unseen riches, life and death, and the rebirth cycle. The most poignant Plutonian myth is that he shares with Persephone. She is abducted by Hades to become his wife and to rule the underworld, the realm along with him. But the accounts that describe her abduction and initiation into the underworld are they have been described as an intense process whereby she was stripped of the life of everything that she had known before in order to undergo a rebirth, in order to undergo a rebirth that enabled her to rise up and become one of the most powerful deities of the Greek mythology. In astrology, similarly, the symbolism of Pluto in the birth chart is associated with similar processes of transformation. Pluto transits often accompany periods in our life that seem to take us down in order for us to rise up again, and that seem to demand that we surrender every ounce of our power so that we might remember what it means to own and wield our power responsibly. A lot of heavy stuff, but this transit is not going away anyway soon. It's a very slow moving planet, so it would be worth our while to see as to what are the changes, that what are the deep foundational changes that we can make in our life. And Pluto loves transformation the similar way that Saturn loves that if you are willing to roll up your sleeves and work with the Saturnian lessons. Pluto also encourages you to transform, to make that change in your life. And for you, Scorpios, this is happening in your house of communication and your mind. So when Pluto is over here, it can be that you struggle mentally, or you could find yourself being in quite feeling quite intensely, thinking quite intensely, being even stuck in strange moods, being even obsessed with your interests and wanting to dominate conversations with others. And it could be like either it's your way the high or the highway. Now, how to survive the Plutonian transit for you is that you will have to focus more on working on your mind, on your communication, and how it is that you deal with other people, and also what is it that you're saying and how it is that you're saying. Um, Shielding yourself behind the excuse of, oh, this is who I am and I cannot control, or my temper gets the best of me, is not going to be working quite well for you. Or even rather, doing things completely your way is also going to backfire, most likely. And especially if you have another hard aspect of a planet that is transiting along with Pluto, say a Uranus or a Saturn over there, then this is something that you may need to really look at carefully. Pluto rules control, so this can be easier to do, and you can use your mental energy to your advantage. If you aren't forceful in communication and instead present clear ideas and thoughts, people can naturally admire your ideas and thoughts and listen more to you, and are more easily convinced of your position, whether it is in life, whether it is in the workplace. So pick and choose when you inject your thoughts and your words, because are going to be carrying a lot of weight. You may need to work on your way on transforming your way of communicating or learning so that you can be clearer and more focused mentally. It's a wonderful time to be transforming your outlook as well. You may have your own perceptions, Scorpios, all of us do, but this is a wonderful opportunity to really broaden and open up your mind and seeing whether there is another way that you can communicate. If you find yourself that you are being stuck in bad mood, or that you're unable to sort of get through a vicious cycle of, whether it is losing temper or it is thinking obsessively, this could present a clue that you do need some work in order, for your mind to change your perception. It is worth your while again to see and check in your birth chart as to where it is. Pluto is transiting along with other planets in this specific house. We also have Venus retrograde, and it carries on being so till about end of January. And Venus is also retrograding in the house of communication. So when Venus moves backwards in the house of communication, it can you'll find that maybe old conversations, maybe things that you thought you had dealt with or finished saying, do tend to pop up again. And it's also a time where you could find yourself talking more about your relationships, about your the money, or about the work issues as well. And the Venus retrograde transit also is likely to bring up the weak links as it relates to communication of every kind. So it could be worth your while to be asking yourself these questions: that how are you communicating to where it is that you want to be as far as your work or your career is concerned? How is it that you're communicating as far as your creative expression is concerned? And in your relationships, how it is that you're communicating? Do you have, are you able to say things without being hurtful, without exploding, or there's a clear boundary that you have drawn? Are you still very much trying to sort of manipulate people and say, either it is my way or it is a highway? And are there any financial opportunities that you may find? Because this house, the third house, also rules our extended families, a sibling community at large. And maybe there is a way to collaborate or work along with them. And also because Venus rules money, so how it is that you're spending money, where it, especially when it relates to your communication, your tablets, your laptops, your computers, and how it is that you're using your communication devices, I would say. And how about learning how to use them better? Maybe you are spending, you've become quite obsessive about spending a lot of time online or on your gadgets. Maybe this is a time you need to be using apps that help you control that. I think that's again ironical that we need furthermore apps to be controlling our own usage, as to how much is it that we need to be moderating. Again, how are you spending money using, as far as vehicles are concerned, transportation is concerned? And is there some research or some planning that needs to be done in a more desirable situation, as far as your habits are concerned, as far as your travel is concerned? So all of these things will come up for inspection during the Venus retrograde. Around the April 30th, we have a beautiful solar eclipse that is there in your house of relationships, and this is your marriage and your business relationships as well. And we have Uranus, which is there. It has been there since the last couple of years, and it carries on being so for the next couple of years as well. And this is so pretty much in 2022, your house of self, that is the first house, and your house of relationship is going to get affected. So you are going to be feeling quite polarized, between the sense of self, and they can be, you can find that there is some upheavals as far as your relationships are concerned, and they can, some of you, especially again depending as to how the rest of the planets are placed in your birth chart, you may experience some emotional shocks. You could also experience, in certain cases, deepening of intimacy, or there may be an absolute breakup of relationship as well. And in certain cases, you may find that a relationship is absolutely, is wholly absorbing, and you realize that, you've lost your own defining edges. And you could, some of you may awaken to the naked truth about, what's been lost by maybe living in a friend's shadow, or maybe by being in a relationship that has become too codependent. So questions like, who am I in this relationship? Who will I become? Overall, a theme of the eclipse in the first and the seventh house includes identity crisis, selfhood, and relationships. Overall, the theme of the eclipse in the house of self and the house of relationships includes identity crisis, selfhood, and relationships. This could mean going into partnership or marriage, or having periods of solo retreat. On May the 11th, Jupiter moves into your house of day-to-day chores. This is the house of your health and work as well. And it stays till about end of October. And then on May 16th, we have a full moon that is here in your house of self. Now we need to be remembering that eclipses last for about 6 months. And again, the focus is going to be there this time, of course, when we have Jupiter that is going to be moving into your house of work. They can be that during summertime there is a possibility of getting a job, or there is a time that some of you will look at a career change as well. Around the May 16th, that's the time where we have a lunar eclipse, and again that is there in the house of self, and there could be a lot of introspection, or what is it that you want, where it is that you want to go ahead. And for a lot of you, because this is also a time that a lot of things will get crystallized for you. There could be a sense of acknowledgement and acceptance and saying, okay, this is the decision that I have made, or there is clarity that I need to be going in a specific direction. Between September and November 2022, we have a square between Saturn and Uranus. Now, that has been carrying on since about 2021, and it carries on till about almost, I would say, the second or third quarter of 2022. And for you, this is again going to be in your house of relationships, and this is going to be affecting your house of home as well. And you could feel quite torn between both of them. So globally and individually, the Saturn squaring Uranus, it's really a negotiation for change. It's because both factions, both the parts, whether it is your relationship or whether it is a foundational, the way that you've grown up, your sense of how it is that a relationship needs to be, or how it is that you need to be in a world, something needs to get negotiated. Both the areas need to come to a midpoint in order to be agreeing. And yet both the sides, because they both vary, Saturn wants structure, Uranus wants freedom, there can be an innate sense of rebelling against the idea of conformity as to why it is that I need to be. Say for example, some of you may have to give up on a career, on a lucrative job, in order to be moving with your partner to another country so that you can be with your partner. And there could be this entire tussle of that, I cannot be restarting my career again. But then again, there is another phase or another chapter of your life that awaits to be unfolded for you. And of course, there is a risk and there is a sacrifice that is being asked. And maybe for some of you, this could be an impossible task as well. And just ensure that whatever it is that you're negotiating, as far as your relationships are concerned, and as far as your foundations are, your sense of self is concerned, or rather this stems from your place of home, that you do not end up feeling as though your edges of the boundaries have got erased, as if your sense of self is completely, that you've sacrificed so much that you no longer recognize yourself for the person that you are. But simply being in the same situation is also not an option anymore, Scorpios. Also, I think this entire phase of Saturn squaring Uranus in these two specific houses for you, Scorpios, also speaks about not playing the victim card, not feeling very sorry for yourself, and also not being the entitled person and saying that, oh, I deserve far much more better. But in the process, also, you have to be careful about not being the person who's always conforming, the person who's always making the sacrifices. So, this aspect specifically, again, it would really be important to see as to how the rest of the planets are placed in your own birth chart. That would be really, really important. Now, Saturn wants you to take it easy, it wants you to go slow, and is after Pluto parallel and then conjunct Saturn from 2015 to 2050. This is going to be uh, pulling up all the stuff that needs to get transformed, everything that is necessary that needs to get changed. So change has already begun, whether we like it or not. How it is that you adapt to it, how it is that you transform yourself so that it works well for you. And Uranus, of course, wants you to rush into it, wants you to push, and wants you to get it done and over with it. And Saturn wants you to take it really slow, plan ahead, and see the next move and avoid any complication. So neither way is going to be the easy way, but a combination of both. And by pre-planning and seeing as to, again, ensuring that it works well for you and also does not corrode your own boundaries, personal boundaries. On October 25th, we have a beautiful solar eclipse that is there in your house of self. And on November 8th, 2022, we have a lunar eclipse that is there in your house of relationships again. We have Mars that is going retrograde for 2 months towards end of October, and it is there in your house of joint finances, resources, sexuality, and Mars retrograding over here. You may want to, insist on putting your own needs first. You cannot just demand more intimacy, and you may have to ask for what you want clearly but gently. Please remember that the Plutonian effect is all on conversation for you, Scorpio. So do you need to be asking yourself these questions: that do you feel entitled to some shared resources of your partners, and what's holding you back from maybe asking them? Are you being passive aggressive as far as joint finances are concerned, or even as far as intimacy is concerned, physical intimacy is concerned? Do you feel that you're not getting it, or you feel that maybe the other person, your partner, makes too many demands and you're not comfortable with it? So bring honesty into these conversations as far as intimacy is concerned, because this is also the house of transformation. And also avoid poking at your partner's vulnerable places in order to get advantage over them. We'll close the year 2022 with Jupiter, that is going to be moving into your house of love, romance, creativity. Beautiful time to be, if you are in any creative space, or even if you aren't, wonderful time to be channeling all the frustration, angst through a creative process. But it's a great time to be publishing, great time to be releasing music, movies, writing, wonderful time for it. And then, of course, Jupiter is going to be going direct into your house of work as well. So intense, and a lot of self work, a year of transformation. And I would say the next few years are the years of transformation. And let's not try and get scared or worried about the Pluto effect, because change is always hard. Transformation may be even more harder and maybe more unaccepting, because we feel we can't change, people cannot change, things are fine the way that they're fine. But if your relationships have been suffering, if your work has been suffering, if you do find yourself not being able to say the things that you want to communicate, or if you feel that, or if people around you feel that you're quite harsh in your communication, or you are behaving like a really entitled person who people would rather not deal with, then maybe this is a time for you to be changing that about you. And Pluto loves transformation, so it's going to be really supportive of you. And the good thing is, as painful as it is, we must remember the Persephone story, that once we are willing to surrender our power, then that is the only time that we can become more responsible of wielding or knowing the strength of our own power, or embracing our sense of true self. So do remember that this transformation will literally set you up for good, for life, for the rest of your life. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Scorpios. I'll see you again soon, and thank you so much.